What's that?
It's still a crazy place,
Is that
Jeanette.
right?
Yeah, different in a different way, I suspect. Yeah. We're always making the news for something bad.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't the case when we were growing up.
I know, it's kind of sad.
For example, now right away I'm blocking on his name. The fellow who was the major English teacher was also a PhD psychologist. So he was a school psychologist as well as the teacher.
Right.
And so, yeah.
Is that, I'm trying to remember what you said, like McIntyre or McLaren or something.
Yeah.
I think is what you mentioned before. I don't remember exactly.
What's
Oh.
it?
McKinley.
McKinley?
That's another Mick.
Yeah.
I've forgotten his name. He lived right down McGee Avenue. At the end of the street on First Street in McGee is the church, and I've forgotten which church it is. Right on the corner there. And the house just above that was where the teacher lived.
Large. It was a large house, was it not?
What's that?
Was it a very large house?
I think, yeah, most of the houses on
Yeah.
McGee, I mean, that was, Jeanette was divided into two major sections, North Jeanette and South Jeanette. And South Jeanette was the poor end of the town. North Jeanette was the expensive end of town.
Right.
The Gillespie people with all the money, they lived in North
Right.
Jeanette. Finocchios with nothing, they lived in South Jeanette.
I prefer the Finocchios to the Gillespies myself.
What's that?
I prefer the Finocchios to the Gillespies myself.
I do, but when I was 12 or 13, man, being a Gillespie was big time. Big time. And the interesting thing is, they lived in North Jeanette,
Yeah.
but they had business, their major business, and I think it's still there. Gillespie's is still on Clay Avenue.
Yeah, I don't think it's called Gillespie's anymore, but the building is
The
still
building
there,
is still there,
as far as I know. Yep. I remember going into Gillespie's. That was a big deal to go.
Yes, that was the major fashion store
Yes,
on the east side.
Right.
Yeah. There were many more fashionable stores in North Jeanette,
Right.
but we didn't shop there.
Right.
We didn't shop there.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Jeanette did not have a Sears.
Oh.
That was the name I was trying to think of. Yeah. It did not have a Sears Roebuck. You had to go to Greensburg
Right.
to buy anything out of Sears.
You still have to go to Greensburg to buy anything out of Sears.
Is that right?
Yep.
I didn't
Yes,
know that.
there's a Sears at the Westmoreland Mall in Greensburg.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's the closest one.
Yeah.
So not much has changed in 80 years. 90 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting growing up place, but it lacked in, you didn't get to read all the interesting books that kids read in the first grade now.
Right.
I never got to see any of that stuff.
Right.
And if they did, I didn't go to school to find out.
Right.
About it, The Fizzle didn't have that in their library.
I was going to say you were too busy sleeping at the Fizzle.
Yeah. And that was a strange name. We often used to argue about it as kids. How in the hell did they get the name Fizzle?
Well, what did you land on? What did you decide?
No decision.
Is that the noise the glass made when
Arguments all the time, but no decision. Yeah, I don't know.
I always just assumed it was the sound the glass made when it got very hot.
I don't know.
That was my speculation.
I don't remember. And when I was growing up, at one time in Jeanette, there were 27 glass houses.
Really?
Yes,
Wow. I had no idea.
yeah. There were probably more than a dozen hand-blown glassware.
Hmm.
So bottles like that, initially they were blown because there wasn't a mold that they could make to produce a jar,
Sure.
and so they would have to have some other mechanism to do that.
Right.
And, but I spent hours coming home from school. I went by 3 or 4 different glass factories, and 9/10 of the glass at that time was hand blown. And so I would spend hours just sitting there watching those guys
I bet.
blowing this glass through the tube. Yeah, it was just remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just remarkable.
There's a school in Pittsburgh who specializes in teaching the students glass blowing.
Yes, sure.
Yes, they're pretty significant in that niche,
Sure.
market, and kind of famous in terms of the students that they turn out and the quality of instruction that they give.
We had, I don't know for certain, but at least more than a half dozen hand-blown glassware companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. Jeanette used to be a thriving town.
What's that?
Jeanette used to be a thriving little city.
It was indeed, and one of the reasons was it was sitting on the gas works. Jeanette was surrounded by gas wells,
Oh.
and so
I don't
they
think
had
I knew
all that
that.
energy.
Uh-huh.
If you're probably old enough to remember, did the rubber works have a big, big flame? What do you call?
Yes, they did.
Like a
what?
furnace?
They did. No, they had like a tube outside that
Mhm.
stayed burning.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Like an eternal flame kind of.
Yes.
Well, it's a burn off
Right.
for excessive gas.
Right.
And so,
Huh.
and we had a special view of the rubber works because we lived right above it.
Yes.
Probably throw a rock and hit it.
Yeah.
Probably throw a rock and hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the what was it called? General Tire, the rubber company, is still there. General Tire. But all the windows are broken, and I think, although I think it is
Some
still
of it is.
functioning. It's a
that right?
function. Yes.
It's not the rubber works.
Yeah, it's obviously not the rubber works anymore, but there
They
is a
just make-
company there.
Toward the end there, they were just making
Tennis balls.
what
Tennis balls?
and various different kinds of sport balls.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's manufactured there now, but some portion. I don't think all of the buildings are used currently, but some of them are, and which is good because I think for a long time it was just totally empty.
Is that right? Wow,
Yeah.
that's surprising.
Yes, and so now it's made somewhat of a comeback.
Yeah, because I don't know whether the gas eventually petered out or whether it still continues. You think they'd be able to manufacture continuously.
Right. Right. Well, maybe they're due for a what is that when you go into a blighted area and drawing a blank on the name, Michael? When you go
Somebody-
into a blighted area and revitalize it, what's it? What's that word?
Revitalized.
No. Anyway, Jeanette's due for one of
Is
those.
that right?
Yes. Hopefully they'll come in and
Well, they just lost their money to revitalize.
remember when Jeanette,
Delmon or something.
Oh, bummer.
They were putting money in